Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by acknowledging that the CVRD, thank you so much, Director Abbott. I'll start again. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are on the unceded territories of the Cowichan, Malahat, Subassit, Halalt, Penelakut, Staminas, Layaxin, Pauquachin, Dididot, and Pachidot nations who have stewarded these lands for thousands of years, and I am very grateful. I'll call this meeting to order, the regular board meeting of Wednesday, April the 9th. We will start by looking for the approval of the agenda with the addition of a notice of motion. Moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director Abbott. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And on to the minutes, that the minutes of the regular board meeting, March 26, 2025, be adopted. Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by, I missed it, sorry, blur of hands, Director Kallio. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That move, there's no business arising, correct, Mr. Robbins? Moving on to public input. So I'd look to the gallery if there's anyone that would like to provide public input. You get 3 minutes for a total of 15. I just want to let you know that your input is greatly valued and appreciated. So welcome. Come on up to the podium, push the button at the bottom of the microphone. Mr. Day.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And yes, my name is Bob Day. I'm the chair of the Cowichan Housing Association and also the author of the letter on the agenda. And that was circulated earlier on this month to you all. And I know you've all read it, so I'm not going to stick with that too much. But I just wanted to say that some of the things that we've heard since I've taken over as chair is that Cowichan Housing Association hasn't built anything yet. And there's a lot of reasons I could say that could protect us ourselves against that statement, and that $500,000 contribution from the CVRD taxpayers would build you one condo a year, and that doesn't house a whole lot of people, especially a lot of the people that are looking for housing and affordable housing. So that's one. And you know what? We've been through well, number one, we started as a grassroots organization. I wasn't on the board then. Then when I was unelected, I decided that was one thing I wanted to continue on with, because I was on this board when we did all the workshops around affordable housing and spent a whole 2 days at Providence Farm going through it. And that's something I wish that would have happened as each new board comes along after elections, to get rebriefed on all of that and see what the impetus was that started all this. And it started with the social planning. Cowichan, I think, hosted all that activity. So we really learned a lot back then, and we learned a lot about homelessness as well, because if you're going to house people, who's the first group you want to look after? And then you go up the spectrum of income, and you want to have housing for everybody on every level of income and all different styles. A little backstory on this, and I know I only have 3 minutes, but when I started in a mobile home. And then I got elected and went into an official planning committee meeting, and I said, we need to bring back mobile homes to make housing affordable in some spaces again. And I was booed out of the room. And yeah, I didn't ask to be put back on that committee, because I knew that had to happen. And here we are today, 14 years later, talking about backyard suites and modular homes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy we're there, because that is what it's going to take to truly make things affordable again. And it doesn't all have to be that. We can still build $1 million homes, and we can let the for-market sector look after that. But it's time, I believe, from all the studies I've done, and I have done a lot of reading on things like this, on demographics and where we're at in a society, and as economically and demographically, that it is time. Because things have changed since the baby boomers ruled the world and stayed at jobs for 30 years and retired with big pensions. I mean, there's a lot of jobs in the service industry that max out at $20 an hour. And yes, it's okay if people stay in their parents' basements forever, but some people want to get out and get married. I often tell the story about two people that work at Tim Hortons. They fall in love, want to get married, and they love their careers, and they want to have children. Well, they're not going to make it at $20 to $25 an hour. I have relatives that have a $300,000 mortgage. They pay over $2,000 a month for that, and then $2,000 a month for childcare, and then you add a vehicle on top of that and all the others essentials that we have in our privileged life we live here in Canada. So the Cowichan Housing Association, as I said, the letter speaks for itself. In order to have an influence on the housing market and the pricing, we need to start building social housing, probably not the best word, community housing. And that means that we need to become involved in that. And that means as an arm of the local government, we should start to have an effect on that by doing that. And there's no experts in the CVRD building on how to build houses and how to develop and stuff like that. So a housing corporation would be the logical choice. And that's spoken about in the letter. And the part that really brought me here today with quite a lot of emotion is that now I read that Economic Development Cowichan is basically has their work plan put on hold, and that's where the workforce housing strategy lies, and moving ahead to transitioning CHA hopefully to a housing association or a corporation. So in there it also says that a referendum could be put out by the 2026 election, and put a referendum question out there. And if we don't start moving on that, because I've been on this board and lots of other on the council and stuff, I know how long it takes to get there in these and to form a question and to get it ready for a referendum before an election. So if we don't get onto it now, it could be another year away. And as I said before, 14 years ago, I started talking about affordable housing, and local government really hasn't took a good stab at it yet, in my opinion. I know that's not a criticism. It's just that I heard so many times from my fellow politicians, it's not in our wheelhouse. We got to stick to our knitting and all that kind of stuff. And you're right. But because it would cost local government a lot of money to start up a in-house housing thing. But Cowichan Housing Association could probably pull that off after paying for this feasibility study through our MRDT money, or whatever study or legal stuff that has to take place. We could probably pull that off and not cost the regional district any more than it feels it can afford. Right now it's $500,000 plus operating expenses. It could come to more if we look at the Victoria model. They put in a whole bunch of money, but the CRD is a much bigger district.
Mr. Day, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to wrap up your final thought? I've given you some leeway here.
Thank you very much. I don't think we're going to solve the affordable housing crisis, and it is, unless we look to a housing corporation to start taking it on and change the formula out there in the housing market. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to provide public input? Anyone online, Mr. Robbins? Okay, moving on. We have up next information. We have two pieces of correspondence. Oh, yeah.
Are you going to do a report of the chair?
No, on what?
Oh, I'm just saying. Could I have leeway just 1 minute to say something during it?
Well, there's,
Because I missed it when you.
I mentioned a notice of motion is included. Oh, yes, you can have, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. Go ahead, Director Acton.
Thank you, Chair, and sorry everyone for taking up time. Just wanted to acknowledge that Tom Walker passed away March 7th, I believe. And so Bob Day and Ian and myself worked with him. And he was the chair for 3 years, and that was an amazing board that I joined as a brand new director. So what else did he accomplish here? He got the recipient of the Freedom of Municipality Award, and I think it's he earned that through. So I would say that him and I were probably on polar opposites. I was like this. Anyway, we were polar opposites all the time, but we always found that we had more in common than not in common, and we're always respectful to each other. And I think that he brought that to this board. So just wanted to acknowledge that. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Director Acton. And it's a really good example for us to look to hear about these historical figures in local government that are able to have really disparate opinions and still find common ground and relationality between all of us. So it's really good to remember that. Director Wilson, I want to acknowledge your light, but were you going to want to speak to the Cowichan Housing Association information? So I'll speak to the IN one first, and then I'll come to you. So the first piece of information is regarding the feedback to the Reforming Local Government Act and Regional District Legislation Roadmap. So a number of us attended a workshop by Don Lidstone a number of months ago. What I would encourage is we have AVICC coming up this weekend, and there is another session on legislative reform. I really encourage all of us to attend, take notes, and formalize your thoughts for our meeting on April the 23rd, where we can compile feedback collectively as a board. So, Mr. Robbins, do I need like a referral motion for that to come back? Or can that just be my prerogative?
I think we'll just take the instruction. We'll make sure that it's back on the agenda.
Yeah, great. Moving on to IN2, referencing the letter that was spoken about in public input from the Cowichan Housing Association, looking for ways to build more units in the Cowichan Valley, which I think we're all really on board with. But what I would like to do is to direct staff to invite the Cowichan Housing Association to come to us as a delegation, where we can hear a full background to get an understanding of Housing Corporation and the direction that they are suggesting, and have some time to discuss it and perhaps make some referrals to staff at that time. You'd like a motion for that? So can I get a motion to direct staff to invite Cowichan Association as a delegation? Moved by Director Istash, seconded by Director Wilson. Any discussion on that motion? Process question? Oh, process question?
Would that come with a report as well, or just a delegation on the same day?
I think it would,
It's just a delegation.
just a delegation, and if Cowichan Housing Association puts together like a PowerPoint presentation or anything, that would be submitted.
Okay.
Okay. So, Director Wilson, did you want to talk on this?
Please, if I can.
Yeah,
Could,
go ahead.
thank you. Thanks to Bob and Darrell for being here. And one of the things that Bob said just now was that the perception is that they haven't built anything yet. And, you know, that's probably true of the past. But there are things, and as you know, I'm the appointed representative from the CVRD to the CHA. I do honestly believe that with Bob and Darrell there, they will change things. And there are things that we have talked about at their meetings which I cannot speak about right now, which I would dearly love to. But hopefully that will happen maybe at their next delegation when they come. Regarding reporting, I have written a director's report on some of the things that we have discussed here, especially their request to become a corporation. And the purpose of this report, and it will be, I hope, presented at the next board meeting on the 23rd, is to offer strong support to the CHA in this request to transition from a housing association to a housing corporation. And I've been very closely involved in this right from the start, and I am convinced that this is the way forward. This is the way that we can actually get things done. And hopefully the report that I present will show a lot of the pros and cons of that. But thank you again to Bob and Darrell for being in. Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the time to speak on this.
Thank you, Director Wilson. So I'll call the question on the referral of delegation. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to committee reports. We have the Cowichan Lake Recreation Commission report from Director Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. The Cowichan Lake Recreation Commission reports and recommends as follows, and I think all of our colleagues around the region were doing similar things. One, that the 2025-2028 ice fee schedule be approved, and 2, that the recreation fees and charges policy, ice arenas, be amended to remove school out days from the prime time, non-prime time, and mid-prime time rate definitions, and I'd move those.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director McGonigal. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Motions carry. Thank you, Director Morrison. Next, we have Director Abbott with the Cowichan South Recreation Commission.
Thank you, Chair. I would move your,
Sorry, can you push your button again? You're good.
thank you, Chair. I would move that your Cowichan South Recreation Commission reports and recommends as follows. 1, that the 2025-2028 ice arena fee schedule be approved, and 2, the recreation fees and charges policy, ice arenas be amended to remove schools out days from primetime, non-primetime, and mid-primetime definitions, and 3, that the rental rates for the Kerry Park Recreation Centre sports fields and curling ice be increased 2% annually over the next 3 years, effective April 1st, 2025.
Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by Director Deck. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motions carry. And Director Abbott again with the Cowichan Core Recreation Commission.
Move your Cowichan Core Recreation Commission reports and recommends as follows. 1, R51, that the 2025-2028 ice arena fee schedule be approved. 2, that the recreation fees and charges policy, ice arenas be amended to remove school out days from the primetime, non-primetime, and mid-primetime definitions. R6, that the CVRD enter into a new 5-year license and use agreement with Duncan Dynamics Gymnastics Club, effective April 1st, 2025 through to March 31st, 2030, as per the terms outlined in the staff report to the Cowichan Core Recreation Commission meeting of March 27, 2025. And finally, R7, that the CVRD enter into a new 5-year license of use agreement with the Cowichan Valley Arts Council, effective July 1st, 2025, as per terms outlined in the staff report to the Cowichan Core Recreation Commission meeting of March 27, 2025.
Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by Director Wilson. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motions carry. Thank you, Director Abbott. Next, we have Director Douglas with the Committee of the Whole report.
Your Committee of the Whole recommends from the March 26, 2025 meeting. Sorry, let me start over. Your Committee of the Whole reports and recommends to the board meeting of April 9th, 2025, that the Stage 2 engagement period for the CVRD Regional Parks and Trails Master Plan Review and Update Project proceed in September 2025. So I'll move that.
Moved by Director Douglas, seconded by Director Abbott. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Director Douglas, you're up again.
Your Committee of the Whole reports and recommends to the board meeting of April 9th, 2025, that the Cowichan Valley Transit Services Conventional and Handy Dart fare change was approved for implementation April 1st, 2025, be deferred until August 31st, 2025, and that the following motion be referred to the April 16th, 2025 Electoral Area Services Committee meeting, that the Cowichan Valley Regional District Board initiate the preparation of a regional growth strategy applicable to all lands within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Cowichan Valley Regional District, that the Cowichan Valley Regional District Board proposes to deal with the following additional matters during the preparation of regional growth strategy: cooperation with the Regional District of Nanaimo on future growth lands in the vicinity of the Nanaimo Airport and Cassidy Aquifer. 3, that the notice of regional growth strategy initiation be sent to the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs and affected local governments, including the City of Duncan, Municipality of North Cowichan, Town of Ladysmith, Town of Lake Cowichan, Regional District of Nanaimo, Capital Regional District, Islands Trust, and Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District. And 4, that a steering committee and intergovernmental advisory committee be established with the terms of reference as included in attachment A of the staff report to the Committee of the Whole dated March 11th, 2025. So I'll move that.
Thank you, and I just want to check in with staff. There was also a referral to the governance committee. Will that come to a future board meeting, or is that supposed to be on this one?
It hadn't been specifically requested.
It's fine, as long as it's not lost.
Correct.
Okay, great. So those have been moved by Director Douglas, seconded by, yeah.
Because that's
Do your-
that wasn't in front of us? Oh, it is.
You got it? So it's been moved by Director Douglas. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Director Abbott. Any discussion? Director McClinton?
I'm excuse me, a tad confused. I thought this was going to the,
Yeah, it is.
EASC.
but we're notifying the minister now?
No, these are just being referred for discussion at
Gotcha.
EASC. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? This was a hot one this morning. I really appreciate everyone around the table and that we're all still here. In one piece. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed. Director McClinton opposed. Motions carry. Okay, back to Director Morrison for an EAS committee report.
From our meeting of April the 2nd, for all directors, your electoral area services committee reports and recommends the following. We've got C1, C2, and R4. Would you like them read out? They have been published in advance.
I think that's okay.
I would move those.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director McClinton. Any discussion on these items? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motions carry.
And for electoral area directors only, we have an R1, R2, R3, and an R5. Would anyone like any of those pulled for individual debate? I would move those items.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Abbott. Any discussion? Electoral area directors only. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motions carry. Thank you, Director Morrison. This brings us to staff reports. SR1, a verbal report from our CFO, Ms. Bowen.
Good afternoon. So this is just a report on the quarterly expenses for the CAO that get approved by me. So she's got travel, conferences, meetings, and memberships that have happened in the first quarter of 2025.
Thank you. Any questions? Director Acton, push, yeah. There you go.
Oh.
Director Acton.
Thank you. I know we've seen stuff like this before. I'm not sure we've seen Miss Miles Wilson's expenses before, but is there a way that we could just make this more flexible? Like if she just had like a budget or a discretionary fund or like a something practiced like that? Is that what? Offside?
I think this came up, this was questioned last time. I want to say it's part of her contract or something.
Oh, yeah.
There's some,
It was probably mine. I think. Okay.
it's not? Sorry, I'm spreading misinformation. Ms. Bowen.
Through the chair to Director Acton, it's because I sign off on her expenses to keep the flow of payments going, and because I actually report up to her,
Yes,
to you,
yeah, of
that
course.
I need to bring them to you as a way for the audit, for the auditors to be comfortable that, you know, we're following a due diligence and informing you of what is expenses, instead of her expensive coming directly to you guys to have to sign off on. I sign them, payment keeps going through, and then we've come to you guys with the report.
What about like, does it sometimes happen just like, say, through the chair? Where you would bring it to the chair, chair says, yeah, okay, and then? Like, this just seems,
It is standard practice across local governments to do it this way. When you have not unequal with Danielle. I'm
Right.
report up to her, so
Yes.
it's just one way of keeping everything informed and keeping everybody informed of the situation.
Any other questions? Director Martman? Oh, man. There we go.
And I think the second time I've had to say this for our CAO. Wow, kudos. Very, yeah.
Director Morrison, did you put your hand up, or is this just from your microphone on? Just, yeah, okay. Not seeing any other questions. Mr. Robbins, would you like to read the recommendation?
That the following chief administrative officer expenses from January to March 2025 be approved. 1, travel in the amount of $365, conferences in the amount of $1,360, meetings miscellaneous in the amount of $165, and finally memberships in the amount of $870.
Moved by Director Abbott, seconded by alternate Director Lochner. Any more discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Bowen. And SR2, we have our GM of Land Use Services. I believe this is just a clarification. We did it a little bit wrong.
Yes,
And
thank
we-
you, Chair. So March 26th, Board resolved to opt into the principal residence requirement under the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act for electoral areas A, C, F, and H, with the intent being that E and G would opt out. And the ministerial staff have advised that what they need is a resolution for areas E and G to opt out or to be exempt from the principal residence requirement. So a bit of an inverted resolution that's required, so it's as drafted in the report.
So in our first year, sorry, just to clarify, our first year, we had a couple of areas opt out. And if I understand it, they've opted out in perpetuity until they decide if they want to opt in.
So the request in 2024 was for areas A, C, E, F, G, and H to opt in. And that request was approved by the minister, and that request or that opt-in status remains in effect indefinitely unless the board requests that areas opt out.
Okay,
So what they
that's the
need now is a request to opt out.
Yeah, okay, great. So I heard it was moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director McClinton. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Charolf. Mr. Robbins that brings us to notice of motion. Director Acton. Yes. Notice of motion. You can push your button. And maybe just I'll turn to Mr. Robbins first, just to clarify the notice of motion process. What happens today, right now?
Thank you, Chair. So as long as the board, it just simply that is a notice. Director Acton will put a motion before you at the following board meeting. You will then be able to debate and discuss that particular motion. And from today until that point in time, Director Acton can prepare some backgrounder for your consideration so you understand the motivation and what she's trying to achieve through this notice of motion.
Great. Director Acton. Yeah, you're good.
Sorry, I wasn't here last time, so sorry I wasn't able to put forward this motion, but it is from the delegation that we had from Cowichan Youth Services. That is recommended to the board, or that staff prepare a report outlining areas of how the CVRD can support youth in general and how the CVRD can support the sustainability of Cowichan Youth Services.
Great. So that's the notice, and
But
that's all that needs to be done. So then we vote on it at our next board meeting. Correct? Yep. Okay. There seems to be some discussion
Yeah,
happening.
I know, I just thought of that too right now. Maybe. Zoe, maybe. Okay.
No, I mean, the motion has been brought forward. I don't know if you want to. Microphone? I don't know if you just want to go to the director, the alternate director, just to indicate that there's a conflict, and if she's here at the next meeting, she'll recuse herself, just so it's on the record.
Okay, Director Lochner, push your button, you're on.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Acton. I will declare a conflict. I am the Executive Director of Couch and Valley Youth Services and was in fact the delegation that appeared. So if I am present when the voting occurs, I will recuse myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you, Director Acton. That brings us all the way to question period, right? So I actually had some questions from last board meeting that I wanted to answer. So I was because I needed to check in with staff. I didn't know the answer right at that moment. So I was asked, does the Economic Development Cowichan have any involvement with youth? So the answer is no. At this time, there's no direct youth-focused projects, but there are many initiatives that indirectly support youth, like work to retain and attract young people to the region, increasing youth participation in the local economy, and supporting higher wage job opportunities for younger workers. So this is coming from the Economic Development Cowichan Department. The ECDEV strategic plan does include youth consideration. So there was a youth survey conducted, and there was some attempted engagement with SD 79's Youth Council, which sounds like it didn't happen because of scheduling conflicts. But youth were included in the workforce development initiatives in that process. The second question, are there any youth partnerships with local businesses? And so from our ECDEV department, as far as they know, currently no known active youth business partnerships, although some youth employment work is being done by Cowichan Valley Youth Services. There is opportunity to expand. You know, I think there's the need for more local connections between business and youth, and recognizing, you know, that there's a clear gap that we saw in the delegation last week. I think we do have an opportunity to discuss this more in strategic planning sessions as well as future budgets. There are other local governments that have really extensive internship programs that build a path for youth to develop the skills in and build the administrative workforce of local governments elsewhere in BC. Something we could entertain in the future. So this is Director Abbott, this is question period for the public, so I just want to open it up. If there's anybody here that would like to pose a question of the chair. Anybody online, Mr. Robbins? No one's jumping up to the podium. So Director Abbott, this isn't really the time for comments. Can we take it offline? Oh, okay. Well, sure, if you want to praise me. Welcome.
Going into our third year, some of us, I want to commend you for answering some questions. And I don't think I've heard that in the last 3 years that I've sat at this table. So well done you.
Thank you. It certainly is hard. The 2 weeks between board meetings, sometimes everything flies out of my head, but when I keep notes and set myself reminders and have support from staff, it's really helpful. It's a whole teamwork process. Thank you, Director Abbott. Mr. Robbins, what are we going to next?
Chair and board, motion to go in a closed session. And there's a correction under the item CSSR1, which is the item in a closed agenda, but CSM1, CSSR2 is actually, should be under Community Charter Part 4, Division 3, Section 90, subsection 1, subsection G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the CVRD.
Do I have a motion to that effect? Moved by Director Martman, seconded by Director Morrison. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. We are closed. Let's take 5-minute break.